small business owner, community connector.
I'm a progressive leader with a decade of proven results.
I'm born and raised from here.
Cannabis entrepreneur Joy Hollingsworth and transportation activist Alex Hudson are in the closest race for the Seattle City Council this year in a battle to replace Councilmember Kshama Sawants in District 3. D3 is diverse, and both candidates agree its needs vary by neighborhood, stretching from Eastlake to Madison Park and Capitol Hill to the Central District. Will voters in District 3 roll with Alex Hudson or get in step with Joy Hollingsworth?
Public policy has really impacted our community and a lot of the people that have fallen through the gaps.
The candidates debate the issues.
We need to have an economy that is working for working people.
Electing a new city council member to serve Seattle's District 3. Next on City Inside Out. Welcome to this edition of City Inside Out. I'm your host, Brian Callanan. Kshama Sawants' decision not to run for re-election in the Seattle City Council District 3 race has opened the door to new leadership. But there's no clear choice on who will replace the city's currently longest-serving council member. Top candidates Joy Hollingsworth, a cannabis business owner, and Alex Hudson, a transportation advocate, were separated by less than 100 votes in the August primary. That's the closest result of any of the 7 races on the ballot, making the battle for a politically active District 3 a top race to watch in 2023.
I'm Joy.
Candidates Joy Hollingsworth
I'm Alex Hudson.
and Alex Hudson both promise a new direction for Seattle City Council District 3, from the Central District to Eastlake and First Hill to Madison Park.
I'm a small business owner, community connector.
I'm a progressive leader with a decade of proven results.
Hollingsworth, who owns a cannabis business with her family, came out on top in the August primary by just 89 votes.
You care about affordability.
She's endorsed by the Seattle Times.
I'm running for us to bring back, prioritize essential government services that really affect our day-to-day lives.
I want to build a lot more housing.
Hudson, the former director of the Transportation Choices Coalition, an advocacy group,
Yeah, have a good one. You too. Bye.
was second in the primary and is endorsed by the stranger.
And I think we have all the ingredients here that we need in order to really help Seattle and the people in it live its full potential.
Hudson ran the First Hill Improvement Association for 5 years and says housing, transportation, and public safety are her top priorities.
I think running a neighborhood organization is a real asset because I've worked directly with people at a geographic level to make things happen.
Bye, y'all.
Hollingsworth says she comes from a long line of local civil rights leaders. Her top issues: public safety, homelessness, and affordable housing.
We have built our priorities literally block by block, not my agenda, but what our community is saying.
Hollingsworth, a basketball star who's helped bring girls' sports to underserved areas, works with Northwest Harvest's Food Access Network.
I'm in the intersection of community, culture, and commerce.
Hudson, whose family does not own a car, says her experience surviving cancer with help from Medicaid has led to her life of public service.
It's a debt of gratitude that I have to good government policies and the people who fight to make it happen.
After 9 years under Councilmember Kshama Sawants, D3 will soon have a new leader.
And I think it's important that voters really get it right this time, ensuring that we have someone on council that will listen.
I'm excited about bringing my experience and track record of results to City Hall so that we can start delivering some solutions for people.
And we are joined by the 2 candidates for District 3, Joy Hollingsworth and Alex Hudson. Joy, very good to see you.
Likewise, thank you for having us.
And Alex, good to see you too.
Yeah, good to see you.
Here we go. Had a coin flip before the show, and Joy, you've got the first run at the opening statement. If you could keep it to a minute, please.
No, absolutely. My name is Joy Hollingsworth, running for Seattle City Council District 3, third-generation Seattleite. I was born and raised in the historic Central District neighborhood. 39 years, I've seen how public policy has really impacted our community and a lot of the people that have fallen through the gaps. Small business owner, nonprofit leader, community connector, and also a problem solver. A lot of our priorities are based on our response to homelessness, public safety, our housing affordability, what's going on, our youth, our infrastructure, and understanding how all of those play into each other. And I'm literally a product of community, commerce, and culture all connected, and I can't wait to answer the questions, and really happy to be here.
Okay, great. Alex, you're up next. If you can keep it to a minute, please, an opening statement.
I'm Alex Hudson. I'm a public school mom, a renter, and a transit rider. I'm the first person in my family to go to and graduate from college, and when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma at 24 years old, Medicaid saved my life, which is when I decided to dedicate my life and my career to serving the public, which is what I've done for over a decade here in the city of Seattle. I ran a neighborhood organization in First Hill where we helped to site homeless shelters and build affordable housing and make our streets and our parks better. And I've helped to be an advocate for public transit riders across the state of Washington. So I have a long history of working within my community, building broad coalitions to deliver effective and progressive solutions on the challenges that are most important to people in our city.
Thank you both for that. Alex, let me go back to you and talk about this issue. You are running to replace Kshama Sawants. You both are, who currently is the longest-serving member of the Seattle City Council, perhaps the most controversial. She has her supporters and her detractors in District 3. Tell us your thoughts, Alex, about Councilmember Sawants' leadership for the past 9 years and where you want to take D3. Are you seeking her endorsement?
The thing that I will say about Councilmember Sawants is that everybody always knew where she stood. And that is, I think, something that people really want to see in their leaders, is a really clear vision and a really clear ability to articulate whose side you're on and what you're fighting for. And I wouldn't say that I am here to replace Councilmember Sawants by any means, but I too believe that we need to have an economy that is working for working people, a government that invests in the needs of people so that they can remove barriers and allow families and communities to thrive and be connected to opportunity, and to have a sustainable planet where every person is coming together to take responsibility for the care and well-being of each other.
Got it. Joy, same question to you. Are you seeking Councilmember Sawants' endorsement? Your take on the leadership of D3 over the past 9 years?
Yeah, we're really focused on block-by-block priorities. So literally, every time I'm knocking on people's door, I'm asking them, hey, what do you want from City Hall? What do you want in your leaders? And I think the difference is we're really trying to be hyper-focused on local issues per neighborhood, because they're different all the way from Madison Park to Capitol Hill to First Hill. And so what's really important is that, they have a council member who listens, who connects with them, who's transparent, who picks up the phone, who's in community, connecting with them and ensuring that they are the bridge between literally neighborhoods to the 45 city departments that are within our city. And that's what we're looking forward to.
Got it. Joy, you've raised about $176,000 for your campaign as of mid-September. Let's talk about maybe your top 3 endorsements, if you wouldn't mind breaking some of those down with me, and what you think voters should understand from that.
Yeah, we have a broad coalition of people that have endorsed our campaign, from our Seattle Times to our mayor, all the way to MLK Labor, and then a lot of small business owners and community leaders. And so it's this huge, broad coalition of folks, and I think that's been reflective in our campaign and our democracy voucher, and people wanting to invest in our campaign, and we're really proud about those endorsements and the support.
So what does that say about your campaign?
Yeah, it just shows that we're willing to work with anyone and everyone. And I think it's important. I grew up in a Seattle where you literally didn't matter like who you were sitting next to, who you were across the table with, what views, political views, right? It was literally, hey, can we find common ground? How do we move forward? And I think that's the values that we're trying to bring back to our city government.
Okay, thanks. Alex, you've raised about $126,000 as of mid-September for your campaign. Tell us about your top 3 endorsers, if you would, and what you think voters should glean from that.
Yeah, I'm proud to be endorsed by The Stranger. I'm proud to be endorsed by Planned Parenthood Advocacy Organization, the Sierra Club, the 911 Dispatchers Guild, and what that, as well as dozens of elected leaders, over 100 community members, over 20 individual organizations. And what that says is that there are people who really see that I'm able to be bringing together people from across the variety of different perspectives, but stay really rooted in the progressive and effective solutions that people in our district really want.
Okay, let me throw something out here, because I've been looking with Seattle ethics and elections over the past couple weeks here, and I've noticed that there are some independent expenditure groups in this race and a lot of different council races out there. How do you think independent expenditures are going to impact their campaigns? Do they have an impact on your campaign? Can you talk about that, Joy?
Yeah, we haven't seen any independent expenditures come just yet. We're a campaign that is allowing no corporate PACs. We made that clear from the very start that this is a grassroots project. This is a grassroots movement that we are, participating in the Democracy Voucher Program. But if they do come, you see a lot of labor movements, you see a lot of different organizations that are investing. This shows how important this race is and all the different races in City Council and for the City of Seattle.
Yeah. Any thoughts about these independent expenditures? It's been growing as a big part of this race over the past several cycles here.
Yeah, absolutely. As Joy mentioned, we haven't seen any independent expenditures in our race yet, although there was polling that was done in our race a couple of weeks ago that was testing negative messages about me. And so my hope is that the independent expenditures, if they do come, we'll keep it a positive message, which I think has been really the commitment of all of the candidates in this race, is to be talking directly to voters about our positive vision for the city of Seattle.
I would like to try to split apart the connected topics of homelessness and affordable housing, if I could, with you as we get into this for the sake of clarity. Alex, I'll start with you. Talk about your approach to the visible homelessness crisis, if you could. What you're hoping to do differently than what the city is doing right now, and especially in District 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Visible homelessness is a moral failing of our city, and it is unbelievably heartbreaking to see so much misery that people have fallen so far through the cracks. When I ran the neighborhood organization in First Hill, we helped to put 2 homeless shelters in our neighborhood, one in the basement of First Presbyterian and another at Harborview Hall. Those are still operating and have now provided thousands of nights of shelter for people that didn't exist. So what I saw through that is that when you bring people together and have a conversation, that you can build momentum towards the solutions to these big problems. But what we need right now is shelter. I was talking to outreach workers recently, and they let me know that that day, which was Wednesday of this week, that there are 8 shelter beds available in our city. That's for the tens of thousands of people who are homeless in our region. It's totally unacceptable. There is no way that we're going to provide people the care that they need when we have such limited resources. So building and placing and siting shelter is critically important to be able to get people connected and inside so that no one sleeps in our streets.
And do you think that D3 is open to that? You mentioned the work you've done to site places before. Are they open to actually siting some of these different shelters in District 3?
District 3 leads with very strong progressive values, and people want to see effective solutions that are leading with compassion. In my experience in running a neighborhood organization, we brought people together around the yes. Yes, we want these things in our neighborhood. Yes, these are assets. So I have seen it happen before, and I know from talking to thousands of people on the doors that they want that too.
Maybe I can get your thoughts on this, Joy, your approach to homelessness and what different approaches you'd like to take to this crisis in D3.
Yeah, I've been working in the food access space for the last 4 years.
With Northwest Harvest, right.
Correct. And being on the front lines of food insecurity, you are literally seeing people who are one paycheck away from experiencing homelessness, or people that are experiencing it right now, people that are living out of their cars, people that are in shelters, shuffling out of shelters. It's 4 parts. You have a housing problem that we have in our city, affordable housing problem. You also have a mental health issue that's going on. We also have people that are experiencing substance disorders, and we have people preying on vulnerable individuals that are in a lot of these spaces. And so idea around it is you have to figure out different on-ramps to get people into the type of services they need, with being very focused on, when you are going into encampments, understanding, hey, what is the best pathway to get this person into permanent, supportive, or transitional housing? Some people just need a voucher, they need a leg up. Some people need a certain type of treatment, wraparound services. Other people need certain different aspects to get them over that hump. And so we need more places where, we want to get everybody inside and off the street to where they can have a day shelter, where they can get connected to resources, a one-stop shop where we can be able to have better accountability and also transparency, so we can measure progress into the people experiencing homelessness, the issue that's going on in our city.
And there's a word out there that always gets a different reaction from a lot of different people. It's called sweeps. And I just wanted to get your thought on sweeps. What's your position on them?
Yeah, unfortunately, sweeps, it shuffles the problem around. So very against sweeps. But I also know that sometimes those encampments are next to our schools. We have to prioritize our kids. And so in order to do that, we have to go in hyper-focus into those areas where there are encampment resolutions, and we're connecting those people to services to be able to clean out those spaces to ensure that, we have, functionality in some capacity. So, but definitely against sweeps, and would like to see more of resource encampment resolutions.
I want to make sure I ask that question about sweeps to you, Alex. Some thoughts on that?
Yeah, sweeps hurt people. Sweeps disconnect people who are living in communities. Sweeps disconnect people from the social service providers that they've been working with, and it does nothing except to exacerbate a really cruel cycle of harm for the people who are absolutely the most vulnerable in our society. So yes, we need more outreach. Yes, we need more investments. We need more things, but that can't be outreach to nothing. That has to be outreach to care, shelter, services, programs that are actually deeply invested in at the scale of the enormity of this crisis that is facing people in our community. Because there are, as Joy said, way too many people in Seattle and across our region who are one paycheck, one illness away, right? We know the number one reason that people get into homelessness is medical debt. And that the vast majority of people who are homeless actually are employed. And so getting people connected to that next best step can only work if we have the investments in those resources, which right now we just simply do not.
Got it. Let me stick with you, if I could, Alex, and talk a little bit about affordable housing, specifically in District 3. Got a lot of renters there. As you know, the stats show Seattle had the largest rise in average rent between 2010 and 2020, about 92%. Thinking back over the past several years, Councilmember Sawants tried and failed to pass a rent control measure there. Do you support rent control? What sort of measures can you talk about in terms of trying to keep control of rent in District 3?
Yeah, I'm a renter. I'm a renter in the open market. I've been a renter my entire life, and I'm a mom, so I rent with a family. I'm also on the board of a largest affordable housing provider in King County, so I have spent years working on this issue. When I ran the neighborhood organization, we helped to site and build hundreds of units of affordable housing in our neighborhood, and so I know that the solution is more housing, that it's a supply and demand thing. Seattle is the fastest growing city in this country, and we need to be able to catch up. And so that starts a couple of ways. We need to allow more housing in more places. We need to make it faster, easier, and cheaper to build housing. We need to streamline our permitting and regulatory processes. We need to invest in affordability. We need to protect communities so that we aren't seeing the rapid displacement that we've been seeing in our city. That 92%, that hurts people. Your paycheck hasn't gone up 92%, right? And so that has forced people out. And it is harming our community. So it's really very clear that we need to have over 200,000 units of housing in our city in order to catch up, and that 80% of those need to be some kind of regulated affordable housing. So there's a variety of ways that we can do that, but without a place to live, communities and people cannot succeed.
I wanted to pin something down here. Your thoughts on rent control specifically. Does it work? Is it something you support?
I believe in rent stabilization, right? Like, you should be able to have proper notice if your rent is going up. You should be able to have some kind of protections if those rents are going up pretty exorbitantly. And we have seen some pretty innovative policies from the city of Seattle that mean to address that. Some of those policies have had unintended consequences, and we need, as a city, I think, always to be able to go back and take a look and measure what our programs have done. So I do believe in rent stabilization that protects people so that they can have stability and predictability in their housing.
Okay. Joy, some thoughts about rent control, dealing with renters, and any thoughts you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2000, and I've shared this story often, when we saw our neighborhood, going up with the pricing, we turned our grandmother's house into a triplex. And that's where I currently reside, into that home. She purchased it in 1947. And it took us 3 months to get a permit. Now that's actually 6 to 8 months now in our city. It could be up to a year. And then we turn that house around within 15 months. In our city, it takes about 4 years, 3 to 4 years to be able to turn around, your housing into a duplex, triplex, or to build a building. that is a problem. And so, like Alex was saying about streamlining our permitting process, we also need to work with our utilities, our Seattle Public Utilities and our Seattle City Light to make it a little bit easier for people to be able to connect their property to public utilities, to the street, whether it's water, sewer, garbage, electricity. That will be huge. We also need to be a community that has more family housing. Right? Like that's going to be huge for people because right now in our city, you know, we're suffering right now with the Seattle public schools and, you know, not a lot of kids going to those schools. We have to do a better job of being young families, and then workforce housing is going to be huge. And then bringing people back to the Central District will be huge, and being able to have down payment assistance as well.
Can I get specific about that rent control question? I just want to make sure I cover that base with you.
Absolutely. Rent stabilization, we've passed over 22 laws for renter protections, all on board for that. But I also want to make sure that we ensure that we have this lens for small landlords. You know, we have a lot of people that might own a house and they have a duplex or a triplex and they want to be able to rent as well. Those are the people that are creating a lot of affordable housing options in our community.
Okay, great. Alex, let me jump over to you. Let's switch gears to public safety if we could. Your platform on this issue, saw it on your website there, speaks to the need for alternative 911 responses as well as more social services. Yet you have community leaders in the Central District, for example, and D3 saying we need more police. I realize this is a nuanced question. That's why I want to ask it here. Tell us about your approach to public safety. What role social services need to play? What role police need to be playing, please?
Yeah, the city's most core responsibility is right there in the charter is to create safe conditions for people. Again, I'm a parent, right? So this really hits home for me. Right now, we have not been able to recruit and retain the number of police officers so that we can have the proper response time, so that if you need help or you see somebody who needs help, that you can pick up the phone and somebody's going to come and do that. And we ask our police officers to do way too much, right? Police officers cannot be housing connectors. They cannot be behavioral health specialists. They are not social workers. When I did my observation with 911 dispatch, one of the things I learned is that we have 2 crisis response teams in the entire city, and they can't be dispatched. A police officer has to go there first. So if we don't have enough police officers and we are asking them to do too much, then it is perfectly logical that we need other people to be who are better equipped to do those jobs. I also believe we need a reformed police department, right? We've seen some pretty abhorrent things coming out of our out of individuals in our police department that I do not think reflect the values of the city of Seattle, and that creates a serious recruiting problem because not a whole lot of folks who would otherwise want to be police officers are going to see that behavior and want to sign up for those folks to be their colleagues. So we need accountability, but we need obviously to have police officers who are responding to crime, who are there to help you when you need it. That's a given, but what tasks we ask them to do, what their culture looks like, and who takes care of the other things is really critical.
Thank you. Joy, let's talk about your platform. You've spoken about reducing response times for 911 calls, filling staff shortages in the SPD, and some of this co-responder, non-police alternative type of situation for some incidents as well. How do you balance this need for police with the need for different responses to certain 911 calls?
Absolutely. It's the right response to the right situation. Public safety affects us in ways that we don't even realize. What time are we going to the grocery store? Are we taking transit? You know, where are you kind of parking your car? Are you going out at night? Did you put a camera on your house? These things have impacted people subconsciously and consciously, and government has a responsibility to help protect people. That is huge. And so when you're thinking about our police department, of course we want them to be accountable. We need transparency as well. We also need more social workers, and they should get paid the same amount as our police officers. We were asking them to respond to a lot of the 911 calls, to go into these crisis calls. They're the first responders as well. And so it's a balanced approach with understanding that, you know, when we're saying, hey, there need to be a less response time, do we want to increase police? It's also about the detectives, right, that are solving a lot of the crimes that are going on in the back, behind the scenes that we just don't know about, or also a lot of the activity going on in our city. We have to get better engaged in youth. So it's about gun violence prevention. It's about making sure that our youth have stuff to do after school, in school, that mentorship. It is this holistic approach ensuring that we have all these different safety nets as well.
Thank you. I'm going to start wrapping up here. I would like to talk about an issue that we haven't talked about. Everyone's talking about public safety. Everyone's talking about homelessness and housing. What's important to you that you want to let voters know about you and your campaign? Another issue, maybe.
Yeah, you know, one of the biggest things we are so passionate about is youth. My grandmother was on the school board. She always talked about, you know, youth development and youth priority and education. We have to ensure that our youth are taken care of. City council is not the school board, so we don't do anything with curriculum, but what we do have a responsibility for is ensuring that our after-school programming, our library, our community centers, our parks, all these different pieces are invested within our youth. And, you know, looking forward to being able to hopefully put our lens and our fingerprints on the levy, family levy that's coming down the line. Being able,
education and promise, yeah.
That's going to be huge for our kids in our city. And so we have to ensure that we're prioritizing our youth, our future, and then also the infrastructure that's going on with our city.
Thank you. Alex, another topic that we haven't brought up yet.
Yeah, one thing we haven't talked about that's critically important is our streets and our transit system. District 3 has some of the highest percentage of people like me who aren't drivers and who rely on our public transit system, or we have some of the most walkable communities, right? So I think what is really important is that we make sure, yes, that our streets and our roads are in good condition, but that we are making sure that we are building a city where you can get around however you want. Our transit system is struggling right now. And as our city is growing, it's going to be hard to absorb all these folks if we're asking everybody to have a gallon of gas to get a gallon of milk. And so we need for our streets to be able to be safe, for people to get around, for our kids to be able to move around in them. And we need a transit system that creates an irresistibly good alternative, or at least at the very least a good alternative to the single option that most people have, which is a vehicle.
Got it. We need to wrap up here. If you can keep it to a minute or less, I would love it. I'm trying to get that closing statement. Joy, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're at a time where the product of community, commerce, and culture, right? This was the Seattle that I know, the Seattle that I grew up in, the Seattle that I know we can be. And it's important that we have someone that can connect our community to the 45 different city departments, someone who listens, who wants to work with the mayor's office, who wants to work with community about what their issues are and amplifying their message. That's going to be huge for folks, especially with our comp plan coming down the line, our family levy that's coming down the line, all these different things where it's going to plan and shape our city. This is important that we have community input. District 3 is so vast, from Madison Park to First Hill, Capitol Hill, all the way north to Montlake and all the way south to the Central District and a little bit of Mount Baker. Those communities are very, very diverse. And so looking forward to having someone in there who's going to amplify all those voices to City Hall.
Get the last word, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing that I will say is that I love the city of Seattle. I have lived in this county and in this city my entire life, and I know from doing work at the neighborhood level and building coalitions that have passed transformative investments in people at the state level, and just being a member of my community, being a mom, being a volunteer, that things feel really hard right now. That it really feels like our city is on the ropes. And that can make us feel like we don't know if this is our city anymore. But what I have seen over and over and over again is that hard is not the same thing as impossible. And that together we can come together in some of these incredible opportunities that we have, as well as the ongoing business of the city, to turn a new chapter. That our future can be better than our present, and that our best days are still in front of us. And that is possible if we have leadership that is courageous, that is effective, and that is ready to deliver for the people of District 3 and the entire city of Seattle.
All right. Thank you both very much, and we will be right back. What are people saying on social media about the two candidates for Seattle City Council District 3? One person writes, Hollingsworth has a cool confidence that's grounded by a lot of universally shared principles and a vision for restoration in this city that makes her the quintessential choice. Another person comments, Hudson is a progressive with a proven track record delivering affordable housing and securing informed, equitable transportation funding.
We'd like to know what you think. Send us an email at contact@seattlechannel.org or find us on social media.
Coming up next week, incumbent Tammy Morales faces challenger, community activist Tanya Wu in a fight to represent South Seattle neighborhoods like the Chinatown International District in Rainier Beach. Don't miss our Seattle City Council District 2 debate on the next City Inside Out. I hope you join us.